And then I prop it up like this. So when I do feel like my heart's beating a little fast, I need my bubba and a little warm milk and honey in it. It soothes me like I'm a baby.
Lala from Vanderpump Rules revealed she occasionally drinks from a baby bottle, warm milk, and honey to help her relax and soothe her anxiety occasionally. And some adults do this. However, if you're doing it on a regular basis, or you're using something other than milk, which already has sugar in it, your teeth will rot. So here we see Gypsy messages Nick a secret. She says, "I need to tell you a secret, hun." And then he's like, "Okay, tell me." And she reveals, "I never stopped sucking Pediasure from a baby bottle." She sent the first message and the second message right after each other. So she's informing Nick on May 31st, which is roughly 2 weeks before the unaliving. She tells Nick, "Hey, I never stopped drinking Pediasure from a baby bottle." So when we compare that to Lala Vanderpump, Lala was using milk, which is relatively healthy, but it does have protein in it and a little bit of sugar. And she had honey in it, a little bit of honey. And she was doing this occasionally, but Lala also takes very good care of her teeth. She brushes, she flosses, she goes to the dentist on a regular. So her teeth are looking pretty good, right? She probably brushes right after she does this, or at least in the next morning does brush her teeth very well, and probably flosses. Gypsy, on the other hand, used a baby bottle with Pediasure, which is way thicker than milk, has way more sugar, and is sticky. Pediasure liquid is extremely sticky, and it will stick to the tooth. When that happens, when you have protein and sugar and it sticks to a tooth, you have an enormous amount of plaque buildup. In Gypsy's case specifically, she had an arched mouth growing up as a teen in early 20s. She had that overbite prior to her plastic surgery, the really big overbite. She had her teeth squished together, really close together. And that was partially due to her genetic deletion. However, in photos of her in her childhood, using a pacifier at the age of 5 or 6, and using a pacifier from the time she's a baby until she's time for kindergarten, caused her to have an overbite even more pronounced and having her teeth even more squished together. So basically, by Gypsy using this pacifier beyond the age of 2, she enhanced the symptoms that her deletion would cause as far as dental goes. I will tell you that I went through dental training, so I can explain from experience that dentists tell everyone, do not let your child use a pacifier beyond the age of 2 or at the very most 2.5. The reason is because even if you don't have a deletion and you're a healthy chromosome and all of your genetics are perfect, if you have a pacifier beyond the age of 2.5, your mouth will develop an overbite and you will develop teeth problems. And your teeth spacing will be off, and you'll develop cavities. And also, if you're combining that with baby bottles full of juice or Pediasure, your teeth will rot. There's something called baby rot or baby teeth rot, and that can happen in young toddlers or young babies or even, children approaching the age of kindergarten, where their teeth rot from using a pacifier or a baby bottle for too many years. In Gypsy's case, she already had the deletion against her. But in photos, using a pacifier till the age of 5 or 6 are going to enhance those issues. When your teeth are squished together, the plaque cannot be reached by a toothbrush or a floss properly. And so if your teeth are too close, you're going to get extra cavities. you're going to have to brush and floss way more than a normal person would need to. But if you add on top of that, drinking Pediasure from a bottle, like Gypsy admits to Nick, then your teeth will definitely rot, even as a teenager. Now, Gypsy doesn't seem to have very good dental hygiene, because when she's on her helicopter or plane rides and she's being photographed, and this is as she's older than the age of 14, 15, all her teeth were gray and black. They were still there, and she wasn't yet using the dentures. They were her own teeth, but they were gray and black. That only happens when the tooth is already dead. So I know that Dee probably tried to hold on to her teeth as long as possible with the dentist, maybe even doing fluoride treatments and trying to patch whatever cavities they could. But at whatever point, dental gets extremely expensive, and no matter what they did, her teeth were all rotten. When she smiles in that plane pic, every one of her teeth are rotted out. They're all gray. At that point, they have to be removed, because the rot can spread from the tooth to the jaw to then the sinuses and the brain. It's very potentially dangerous. So she had to have the teeth removed. Unfortunately for Gypsy, all but 16 of her teeth had completely rotted out and been removed. Now, if she was drinking Pediasure from a bottle for 20 years, from the age of 3 to the age of 23, this makes perfect sense. In fact, there's no way you can drink Pediasure from a bottle for that many years and still have all your teeth when you have an overbite and squished teeth and already an arched palate like Gypsy had. So here's a story of a dentist who had a patient who never had cavities and he had treated her for years, never had them, and she was suddenly getting them. And they tried figuring out what was new. And then she realized, oh my goodness, I've been taking chewable melatonins. Like after I brush my teeth and floss and everything, I chew this and then I go to sleep. They were able to figure out that in the ingredient of this melatonin vitamin, there was dextrose, which is a type of sugar. So she began taking it before she would brush her teeth, and then she stopped getting cavities. This is how quickly something can happen to your teeth. This is a perfectly healthy person, no cavities, started using dextrose before going to sleep, bam, tons of cavities. So imagine the difference. Compare this woman's situation to Gypsy's, who was using Pediasure. Let's imagine she uses Pediasure before going to sleep with a baby bottle, which makes it even worse, and then sleeps with that. Well, your teeth are going to rot. Now, Gypsy only has 16 of her teeth left, which I don't know if that's 8 on the top or 8 on the bottom, making 16 total. But that's actually quite amazing, considering she used a pacifier till the age of 5 or 6 and then drank from a bottle, Pediasure, for like 20 years. Okay? That is quite impressive, having 16 teeth left. So I think Dee probably did her best to try to save her daughter's teeth. But when teeth do die, they have to be removed. If Dee had left those teeth in her daughter's mouth and they were rotting, they were going to be causing pain. And she would need to give her ibuprofen, Ora Gel. Teeth that are dying are very painful. And it would get to a point where Gypsy would have to have them removed, or else her jaw would become infected, or else her brain or blood could become infected. So they had to be removed. And you can see in her airplane photo, she had at that point 1 or 2 teeth removed. At that point, she could have made a decision to stop drinking Pediasure from a bottle, to make sure she's flossing and brushing before she goes to sleep, to maybe use like calcium powder and things like that on top of the teeth when you're brushing them, like a mineral powder on top of toothpaste, and brush her teeth with that. There are a million things she could have done, but she was not proactive. Instead, she drank regular Pepsi, not even diet or Diet Coke. She drank regular full sugar Pepsi and then Pediasure from a bottle. I don't think her teeth were a priority for her, because she could use dentures And she was already using wigs. She loved being able to use wigs. Now, if you look at her life, throughout her whole life, she had really short hair and maybe like a couple inches of hair. And I would just inform people, I know for like Caucasian people, they're really shocked by the idea of using wigs and things like that. But wigs are very common in many cultures and many ethnicities and minorities. And there are many minorities where they don't want to deal with their hair. Maybe it's too tight of a curl that maybe they don't like. Maybe they like the look of a wig, or they like the ease of it, not having to blow dry, or use what do you call that in the morning, where you use a diffuser in the morning with your hair because it takes a long time. And with Gyp, maybe she really doesn't know how to do her hair, or she doesn't like having to do it. You saw my last video where I posted. She was straightening her hair, was doing it like an 8-year-old, and was getting mad and getting frustrated. And her hair looked so bad, you guys, afterward, because she didn't have a beauty team getting her ready. And she usually has a team getting her ready when she does interviews and stuff, So I'm going to make a whole video about that, which I'm working on, but it's a lot. But when people are online, and there's two things that they defend the whole victim mentality about, and it's the teeth. They'll say, oh, well, she lost her teeth because she was on anxiety medication, or she lost her teeth because she had cancer treatment or leukemia treatment. Both of those are lies. Or they'll say, well, her mom shaved her head. Well, actually, what happened was Dee had cancer and had her head shaved. And I think Gypsy saw how much attention her mom was getting. And she already was using wigs on the regular since 2011 or before that. And she's like, you know what? I'm just going to shave it a little shorter. That way putting on the wigs is easier. Because it is. If your hair is shaved a little shorter, it's a lot easier to wear wigs. And there are many minorities who do this, and it's very common. I think that people just get shocked because she's Caucasian and doing it, But no offense, but if they saw a beautiful African-American woman doing it, they'd be like, oh, okay, she doesn't like her curly hair. She likes wearing wigs, because they've accepted that. But when they see a Caucasian woman doing it, they just automatically think she didn't want to. What if she did want to? What if she liked wearing wigs? What if she liked how easy it was to have beautiful flowing hair? And the reason I bring this up is because I've had girlfriends that, are into beauty and all of that, and they have tons of wigs. And they keep their hair, but then they have to put it in a tight bun, flatten it, put gel on it, and then they put a wig on. But the great thing is their hair looks 20 times better than my hair when we go out. Okay, they look like Taylor Swift or Sabrina Carpenter, and I just look like a normal girl. Okay, so there are girls who like wearing wigs. So it seems as though the teeth thing was intentional with Gyp. The teeth were not a priority for her. Otherwise she would have stopped drinking sugar Pepsi, would have switched to Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi or something like that. I don't think that was important to her. She would have stopped drinking Pediasure from a bottle, right? So I think she liked drinking Pediasure from a bottle. She didn't care if it made her lose her teeth. I think she liked wearing wigs, and for her it was easier having shorter hair, and she also got attention, right? So sometimes we have to understand that sometimes people choose to do things, and they may be bizarre to us, but we have to understand everyone's different. With Gypsy, the last thing I want to cover is people get defensive and say that she was a victim because her mom put her on seizure medication. Guys, I've researched every seizure medication. So as I talk, I'm going to put up the seizure medications in front of you so you can kind of read along. There are so many of them. Some are in person, some are over the counter, some are in hospital only, where you can't get them over the counter by script. You have to be in a hospital to get them because they're more serious. But there's varying types of seizures. And so some are acute, where you'll only get a seizure every once in a while caused by a trigger. Or you might have epilepsy, where it's a regular thing and you have to use medicine to prevent it and treat it. Then there's what's called a mild seizure, where, you basically don't even look like you're having a seizure. You might look like you're just zoning out. Your friend might be talking to you and you zone out for like 2 seconds and they're like, wait, did you hear me? Are you paying attention? And they're like, oh yeah. That's like a mild seizure. And those can cause slight brain damage or learning disabilities and often go misdiagnosed for like, many, many years. We don't know which kind Gyp had. And sometimes people get seizures while they're sleeping where they like forget to breathe, even when they're like teens or adults. It's like a form of sleep apnea. We don't know if she had that or not. So, we really don't know. What we can say for certain, though, is seizure medication does not make your teeth fall out to the point you only have 16 left, 8 on the top, 8 on the bottom. I don't know where they're located because I don't have her dental chart in front of me. If she sends me her dental chart, I can explain it to you guys because I can read dental charts, but there's no way that a seizure medication made her lose that many teeth, okay? It was the pacifier and the Pediasure from a bottle, hands down. When we talk about these seizure medications, the most common symptoms are weight loss, maybe nausea, maybe a headache, maybe weight loss. Sometimes dizziness can be a symptom. Sometimes social anxiety can be a symptom. But losing your teeth is not a symptom of seizure medication. Sorry, guys, I still have my cold. But yeah, it's not a symptom. Gypsy tried to tell the public that her mom rubbed oral gel on her teeth, and maybe that's true, but that was because her teeth were rotting and probably hurting. Cavities are painful. Okay, has anyone had a cavity up in here? Put it in the comments. Cavities are painful. If her mom knew she had a cavity, I guarantee she probably did put Ora Gel on there because she never wanted Gypsy to be in pain. And, Gypsy tells the public, yeah, she put oral gel on my mouth, but it made me have excess drooling. So instead of telling the public I have a genetic chromosome deletion and it causes drooling, this is why she, minimized my glands, with Botox or whatever. She tells the public, that basically the oral gel is what caused the drooling, and then her mom used that to get her into having, you know what I mean? It's just like a whole circus. I can tell you that oral gel might cause you to drool a little bit, but the doctor looking or the dentist looking at her mouth or the doctor looking at her mouth would be able to smell the oral gel. It has a smell, and they would know the difference between your mouth being numbed and you having excess active drooling from your salivary glands. They do studies on these before they do anything else. So, and then, what I think is so interesting too? I just have to add this in. It's totally off subject, but when you look at her surgery chart, why does she have, if you read it, like at first you're like, okay, that's a lot of surgeries. But if you read it, most of those are moles. Why the heck does she list her moles as surgeries? Okay, I've had a couple moles removed in my life. And one of them I even froze off myself, like bought the can, froze it off myself, because I'm a tough chick. And let me tell you, I don't consider that a surgery. When I went to the derm and they removed a foo, not a surgery. Not if that were surgeries, I'd have a lot. And I'm sure many of you have had moles removed. I guarantee you some of you have. Let me ask, do you consider it a surgery? When you have your medical chart and you list your surgeries, do you list your mole removals that are done in a derm where they just freeze it off? Do you consider those surgeries? And what's crazy is even after all her mole removals, she still got some moles. She still got some brown moles. I see it in her videos. So it's just crazy, you guys. When people talk about, these are things to keep in mind when you're talking to people, because we run into those, we all know it. We run into those people all the time, online or in person. They're like, no. She lost the teeth from medication. She had all these surgeries. They don't realize she's talking about moles. Those are not surgeries. I guess to Gyp they are. But, the public, they have no idea, guys. So we have to be patient with them. And when they bring up the surgeries, we have to kindly remind them that mole removal is not a surgery. and that she counted every mole as a surgery individually, each one individually. And, we have to remind them that there are tons of people on seizure medication, and they're not all walking around with dentures when they're a teenager or in their 20s. It's not happening. And we have to remind them as well, when they talk about the hair, that there's a ton of women in America and around the world that wear wigs and cut their hair shorter, almost shaved, so that it's easier to wear the wig. And tons of people do it, okay? And it's not a big deal, but for Gyp it is. So let's keep all this in mind, but I just wanted to point out this Pediasure thing, because there is no way someone could drink Pediasure from a bottle. I mean, you saw that woman where I showed the fact that she had melatonin tablets, took them before bed, and it rotted her teeth drastically, where she had all of a sudden had all these cavities and didn't have them before. And if that's a healthy woman who had no cavities, started using just a chewable, and suddenly got a ton of cavities, compare that to Gyp using like Pediasure, which is literally straight cavity formula if you're not brushing your teeth. And then add that to drinking it from a bottle and you're not a baby. That's every dentist will tell you that is literally a disaster waiting to happen. I encourage each of you, when you see your dentist or see your doctor, ask them, hey, if someone drank from a bottle, drank Pediasure their whole life from 20 years, would their teeth rot? Just ask their opinions. And then when you talk to people, be like, well, I had a professional tell me that that's not normal. So her story doesn't add up. Because sometimes people have to hear it from someone in a lab coat or from a doc. You get what I'm saying? It has to be from an actual dentist or an actual doctor. I'm not a full-on dentist. I did go through dental school, but I'm not an actual practicing dentist. But I do know a lot about teeth, and my goodness, I just look at her and shake my head, because everyone who's a dentist or went through dental school, we all know better. Just zero makes sense. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, you guys. And, I'll be over my cold in a day or two, and I'll be posting more vids. But thank you so much for your love and comments, and also subscribing. We've had a lot of new subscribers, and it's really exciting to be able to share this journey with you guys. So have a great night. Ciao.